So yesterday was WWDC 2024 kickoff. WWDC is the Worldwide Developer Conference where Apple basically presents a bunch of usually software updates to their developer audience, if you will. And historically, they've done a lot of this thing in terms of releases and that kind of stuff. This time, there was no hardware releases. There was a lot of software releases. They spent an hour talking about iOS and macOS and all this stuff coming up that you would normally spend the entire time talking about. And then they spent an hour talking about AI, something they are calling Apple Intelligence with the subheading AI for the rest of us. I mean, anybody want to comment on the name?
Well, I mean, can I comment on the whole WWDC? I mean, I don't know how much of it you watched or watched, but parkour dude going into Mac
Yes.
OS intro.
Yes.
I was
It's become their thing, hasn't it? These cheesy kind of bits have become their thing at these since they've gone pre-recorded.
Right. I was like, what are we doing here? And then
we're selling phones.
Right.
And so you can arrange icons on your iOS starting soon. Is that a feature?
That's an iOS feature. Nothing to do with AI, but that's a feature.
Okay.
No,
you couldn't do that before.
Bobby, can I tell you how many times I cracked up in the middle of all the announcements going, they couldn't do that yet?
Yeah, right. You can't move I got a picture of my dog. I want to frame my icons around it. And I'm like, what do you mean? You just drag them down. That's what you do. And he goes and he's showing me. I'm like, oh, that's new. Okay.
Yeah, you couldn't do that before. Yep.
No, and scheduling text to go later.
Yep, couldn't do that before.
I'm like, wait, you can't do that yet? We've had that for ages.
Is this thing made of wood? What is this thing you have?
all I know is billions of people buy them, that's all they care about. That's all they care about. So Apple Intelligence, they've co-opted trying to co-opt the AI tag, I'm guessing, right, with this?
Yeah.
Because they didn't refer to it. Exactly. So AI, Apple Intelligence instead of artificial intelligence. When they were on stage, they barely used the term artificial intelligence at all. I think they said it maybe 3 times, maybe. And that didn't come until at the 3rd hour in. It was way, way, way deep in the weeds. They referred to it initially as intelligence. Then when they revealed the thing, they started referring to it as Apple Intelligence. So AI for the rest of us, interesting tagline.
It's like AI for the rest of us, but we're using OpenAI under the hood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
we're using the AI everyone else is using.
Yeah, it's the AI that everybody else uses, but we're just going to say we're Apple and we're just going to pretend we're not, and we're just going to call it Apple Intelligence.
So Apple Intelligence is the part that runs kind of this is the think of it as the core thing, right? It's not an singular product. It's a series of things that runs on a series of different devices. So all systems, Mac, iPad, iPhone, as long as you have newer hardware. So any M series iPad or M series Mac, it will run on. It will only run on an iPhone 15 Pro, not an iPhone 15. So anything iPhone 15 Pro and up. And this is to do with the fact that this AI runs on device. That's the thing here. So you need the processing power. Just like Samsung did with the Galaxies, you need an S24 to run the AI stuff. Clearly, it's got to be intensive on whatever AI chip they have on these phones. So you need that newest hardware for this stuff to run on phone. If you don't have those devices, you're just not getting any of this stuff. It also has, so in addition to on device, it has this thing they're calling cloud compute too, a private cloud compute. So in the, Apple being security first is the way they are, they keep pushing this thing. The on-device thing makes sense. Obviously, it's not your data's not going anywhere. It's doing it on device. But there is a cloud element to this where if it can't do it on device, it's a small model that runs on your device, right? So if you need extra processing power, it can go to a handoff to a cloud device, which they're showing is some private server farm that runs on Apple hardware that only it sends the data, it then deletes it from that once it's done. They never retain it. They never read it. They don't have access to it. They push this whole security thing, which was super interesting. What do you think about that? Any thoughts on the privacy aspect?
Since I looked at the cards that we have, and I know that there's going to be that one where California, I guess they allowed somebody to use your thumbprint to open your phone. So I'm kind of almost doesn't matter what services you use on Apple. If someone's able to get into your Apple device, it's almost like irrelevant. But let's say all things considered, if no one else could access your phone, I think it's like a step in the right direction. But I think like anytime you interact with like a company, they do ultimately have the control. Like for instance, if you wanted to have something secure that you know it's yours, you're running your own server on your own computer. But then that's not very convenient, is it?
Definitely not.
But it does send a lot of stuff over to OpenAI, so that's going to
kind of.
Yeah.
So there's two things here. There's an OpenAI component and there's a non-OpenAI component.
Right.
The cloud compute stuff is not related to OpenAI at all. So what happens is it goes through, I think, through 3 phases. It goes through the first phase is, can I do it on device? If the answer is no, it sends to this private like relay cloud that is also Apple owned, nothing to do with OpenAI yet. And then it says via a pop-up like, hey, do you want to send this to OpenAI? Do you want to send this to ChatGPT? And you answer yes or no. And then you say whether you're sending it to OpenAI. Now, here's the thing. ChatGPT, they've also said they are not sending them any kind of data about your phone. It is not OS level. They don't have access to anything on the OS side. It is one message they're getting. They are not getting any personal data about you, including your IP address. They are masking the IP address they're sending to ChatGPT. So OpenAI gets nothing, basically, in terms of being able to collect data on you.
And what's interesting about this, because if they're using OpenAI, it showcases that it's not so much like OpenAI's model, but it's the fact that they have the infrastructure from Microsoft that allows them to run AI at scale, because there's nothing stopping you to create your own server running Llama 3 or whatever and kind of having your own functionality. And somebody could make that as a service. But again, it's like you don't have the infrastructure to run that at scale. And I think that's why a lot of these companies kind of are beholden to, it's not so much the model helps, but there's many models now available. And it's literally you're paying for the physical infrastructure that's crunching all the requests that you're making.
I think one of the things I think it's an interesting topic that we probably should discuss a lot. We were talking about the price of NVIDIA chips and that a lot of these companies are raising money, and it reached peak hype last week. And when you think about when they raise all this money and then they go out and just buy compute, I think if I was in a startup today, which I may be inclined to do, I think I would want to use Azure or someone like that, because I don't want to buy all that hardware in case this AI does blow up and there's a bubble in it. I don't have to like feel bad about throwing away, 40,000 H100 chips, which a lot of these companies are going to do when this bubble breaks on AI. We haven't yet seen an AI company at the level of Facebook yet. We've seen OpenAI. We haven't seen, are they really going to become like synonymous with something else that we just use all the time? Are they going to become a verb? Are they going to become the thing? And I don't know yet. We'll see. I mean, Apple Intelligence, good name, but what does it really do?
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, whoever controls the chips is going to and has the infrastructure, we're going to have to use their services. And what's crazy, like how NVIDIA and their CUDA language, it's pretty much used everywhere. Like even if AMD creates like amazing chips, to switch to whatever AMD thing is going to be to handle. I forgot what it's called, but it's not obviously CUDA because that's NVIDIA specific, and pretty much that's like industry standard now. So they literally have the best moat for any company. Like they're not going to be able to compete with NVIDIA. So I think I heard, maybe I dreamt it while I was getting surgery, but there might be like a court hearing that Microsoft may.
DOJ's already lining up to sue.
Yeah, so it's like because they might have a monopoly that nobody else could play in their play space.
I really think it's a little early for that. Like this market's been around for 2 years now. Right. So like, let's slow our roll to figure out if there is a monopoly to even be worth having. Yeah. I mean, maybe. And I do think AMD and Intel and all these other people will make something. I mean, there's going to be competitors to it. And they're not going to sit around and watch, NVIDIA be a $6 trillion company while they do nothing. So, but like, My point of this whole thing, the reason I laughed at this whole Apple event, I watched it, and full disclosure, I'm running a Mac Studio, so I'm not anti-Apple. I have like Mac Minis. I use a Mac every single day. I don't have an iOS device. I have an iPad. I don't have an iPhone. And then I'm looking at it. I'm like, what is this gonna do? Like, why would I buy the iPhone 15 for $1,500 or whatever it's going to be? And I don't know if there's an answer to that that's really compelling yet. I get access to ChatGPT
We'd have the
for
app.
nothing, I guess. Already got that. I mean, like, so are they going to connect Siri to all the other things and make Siri better?
Yes.
That's what they're saying, but no one's really seen it yet. So we'll see what
No,
happens.
there was demos. They had demos
Yeah.
of it.
I'm sure it's going to be pretty good, but is it going to be
they had demos.
life changing?
So Siri was a big upgrade in terms of like, does it integrate on an OS level? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
So Siri has things like you can I forgot what they called it. It was on-screen awareness was one of the things. So it can look at something and it can answer questions about things that are on the screen or actions you're taking on the screen or things you're doing on the screen. It was built into a whole bunch of the apps so that it has awareness of like, they showed one where they showed like a 3-piece app where it was like, you can look at the calendar and it checked the calendar invite and then says, but I'm supposed to get from point A to point B. Do I have enough time to go from this meeting I have here to this meeting? And it knew based on an email that it read and a flyer that it saw a date and time on and said, oh yeah, it's going to take you 25 minutes to go from that meeting you have here to this location on this flyer to your kid's concert, whatever it was.
One thing I'm going to say here is like, I feel bad for all the 12-year-old, 13-year-old teens who sometimes use iPhones to look at not safe for work content. And now before it's like, I just clear my browser history when I was 12, 13 years old, saying, but like now it's like everything is recorded. Your AI is aware. They could describe the stuff you're looking at. So it's like, it's kind of cool getting all these features, but I feel bad for all these folks that are, I just want to browse this in private. And it's not, now what? Siri's going to be like, I think you're going to like this if you like that. It's like, what the hell? It's like, what's this? I think it's kind of interesting. Like, how do we navigate this like convenience where all of our content is being watched? And this is on the same note as like the Windows 11, whatever, rewind thing feature that came out.
Yes,
and it's like everybody just now wants to have history of everything. And the scary part with these AI models, now it understands context of your screenshot, not only like able to read the text, but look at the images, look at the faces, identify everything. And so, yes, now they're not using it for any like weird things, but who knows? Like, because at some point it could be like, oh, you search like this medical condition. Maybe you're predetermined to like, who knows like what the thing could be. Like any search.
Well, certainly it knows that stuff. Yes, certainly it does. Because the demos that they're showing, while maybe just like, they're friendly, right? They're asking Siri to show me all the pictures of Janet in a pink t-shirt on the beach, right? And it can show you that. It understands all of that context. If it understands that, it understands everything else
exactly.
too.
And so there is like, if you have that type of ability, like there is no privacy on your phone. You know what I mean? This is like, and so how do we navigate this with the fact that we want the convenience, but this convenience comes even at a higher price that I think we even understand yet. I don't think people understand exactly what it means, because most people don't even understand ChatGPT yet, based on our previous stream where people were like using it, eat rocks and like whatever. It's like,
so the question I'm going to come back to, this is what I was trying to get at, Kevin. Does it work?
Yeah,
like
that's
we were promised that we could search Gmail too with ChatGPT and it, or whatever they're calling their thing.
We did a test on stream. Yeah,
it doesn't work.
You know what else though too? They showed that exact test of like with the flights.
Yeah,
I saw that test somewhere. So like, I don't know. Obviously, we haven't got hands on. This isn't even. Nobody's got hands on with this yet. Even so, the beta
they
version
didn't even demo
yesterday,
it. They just said it can do this, and they're like, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll take your word for it.
And that's where we've got, isn't it? That think how jaded we are now about all of these other AI demos we've had, that we don't believe anything that any company says now. Because you look at all these other demo fails that are either vaporware or just never happened, or they just don't say what they say they do one thing and they do this other, or they don't work at all. Like, we're so jaded we don't even believe it until we can actually talk to it and do it or do the thing. Like, we're just like, it doesn't even work. Like, it's so bad, isn't it?
Why are they always showing like, your flights and stuff? Do people just fly a lot more than I do? I mean, like,
and like, just forget when their flight is.
You do every week, I'm going to, wherever, and like,
I forget what the demo was. It wasn't like, I forget what it was. It wasn't about like, it was about getting from the airport or something. It was like, oh, I've got to pick my mom up at the airport and I need to get from there to there or something. That was the thing. And it knew the context. It knew the flight your mom was coming in on. based on
Right.
an email, and then it knew the thing. So it's like
That means they're
Okay.
reading our emails. That means that they're gonna have ability to interact with
100%.
other apps that we have, like
I mean,
Uber Eats,
this-
for instance.
this,
Like
this
you
tab
ordered-
right here, Paul. Oh yeah,
20
this tab right here, Paul, is like your worst nightmare. Personal context.
Oh my god!
Because in order to get personal context, it has to tie into your messages, to your email, to your calendar. And it does. It ties into all of those things and has the context of those things. Now, whether you can turn it off or not, I
They
don't
said
know. We haven't talked about
iPhone-
that, but I'm assuming you can.
But they did say iPhone 15. I'm rocking iPhone 13. I think that'll be my upper echelon of iPhones I'm
The
gonna
mo-
get. That's it.
You can go to a regular 15. You just
Come
not go to
to
a
Oh, there you go.
Android.
I'm gonna go to the non-AI app.
Well, we've got AI too.
Yeah, they got AI.
And the
everywhere
background
now.
removal stuff in pictures. I mean, we've seen that before. A lot of people can do that. The Pixel's been showing that for a minute. Removing the photo bombers out of your shots.
Well, I loved the like circle to search that they showed. I'm like, huh. I
It
feel
was-
like I've seen that somewhere before.
I think it was different. They didn't have circle to search, did they? Had
It was like
circle to something
circle,
else.
and then
was
it
circle
had
to
like
something else.
menu pop-ups.
Oh, it
like,
was. Oh no, the circle in here was okay. So the circle that they showed was
Yeah.
the one where they had it. It was circled to draw an AI image. That's what it was. So they were showing a presentation. They circled a blank space, and then they had a thing where it said like, "Oh, based on the context of what you're writing here, you want an image of this that has these attributes."
No,
That-
I
that's
thought
what- that's what
they
they had.
circled some sort of image, and then there was like contextual menus that like popped up.
Yeah, that was
Like-
it. It's like it's image
Oh,
generation
okay.
is what it is.
I
Yeah.
didn't think
The
it was
other
image
thing I thought
generation,
was just
but maybe I wasn't paying attention.
super cringy to me. Well, just not cringy, but just like really that's the feature is like AI generated emojis. Like we didn't have enough already. Like,
See,
Oh, yeah,
I actually
I
like
saw
that
those.
feature.
but like would we do we pay $1,500 or $1,900 whatever this phone's going to
You know how
cost?
much those are going to get used? It's going to be insane. I guarantee it.
That's insanity.
But
Like-
but we're the same audience that's like, why do people use TikTok? What are they getting from TikTok? And it's like, trust me, it's the same things happening. It's the same crowd. I guarantee it.
Kevin, don't call us old. Come on.